Welcome to Quiz for All channel. Today's quiz is all about the Renaissance and Reformation, a time of great change, new ideas, and powerful figures. Test yourself, have fun, and good luck. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss any new quizzes. Thanks. Who painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel? It was Michelangelo. Which invention by Gutenberg revolutionized the spread of knowledge in Europe? Gutenberg invented the printing press, which transformed access to knowledge. Who wrote the political treatise, The Prince? The Prince was written by Niccolo Machiavelli. What was Martin Luther's famous document that criticized the Catholic Church? Martin Luther published his 95 Theses in 1517. Which powerful Italian family were major patrons of Renaissance art in Florence? The Medici family sponsored many great artists in Renaissance Florence. Which artist painted the School of Athens? The School of Athens was painted by Raphael, who famously stood trial for supporting the heliocentric model of the solar system. Galileo Galilei was tried for promoting the heliocentric theory. True or false, the Renaissance was limited to Italy. False. The Renaissance began in Italy but spread across much of Europe. What did the Peace of Augsburg establish in the Holy Roman Empire? The Peace of Augsburg let each ruler choose the religion of their own land. What was the main aim of the Council of Trent? The Council of Trent aimed to reform the Catholic Church and counter the Reformation. Which English king broke away from the Catholic Church and created the Church of England? Henry VIII founded the Church of England after splitting with the Pope. What was Leonardo da Vinci's famous drawing of the ideal human form? Leonardo's sketch of ideal proportions is known as the Vitruvian Man. What was Erasmus known for? Erasmus was a Dutch humanist who promoted learning and religious tolerance. Which architectural style became popular during the Renaissance? The Renaissance favored a return to classical architectural forms. Which invention made accurate ocean navigation more possible during the Renaissance? The astrolabe helped sailors navigate using the stars. What was the main language of educated Europeans during the Renaissance? Latin was widely used by scholars and writers across Europe. What was the Index Librorum Prohibitorum? It was a list of books forbidden by the Catholic Church. Who founded the Jesuit Order? Ignatius of Loyola founded the Jesuits to strengthen Catholic education and faith. What city is considered the birthplace of the Renaissance? Florence is often regarded as the cradle of the Renaissance. True or false? Martin Luther originally intended to start a new church. False. Luther aimed to reform the Catholic Church, not split from it. You've made it to the halfway point. If you're liking the quiz, give that like button a click. Thanks. Which English thinker was executed for opposing Henry VIII's break with the Church? Thomas More was executed for refusing to support Henry VIII's religious split. Which invention allowed books to be mass-produced in Europe? Movable type printing enabled the mass production of books. Which genre of writing did Francesco Petrarch help revive during the early Renaissance? He helped revive classical poetry and inspired the rise of Renaissance humanism. What central belief did Renaissance humanists promote? Renaissance humanists believed in the value of education and human potential. What is the name of the basilica shown in the image? This is St. Peter's Basilica, located in Vatican City. It's one of the most iconic buildings of the Renaissance. Which famous Renaissance château is shown in the image? This is Château de Chambord, a Renaissance masterpiece built for King Francis I in France. Which reformers' teaching strongly influenced Presbyterianism? John Calvin's ideas laid the foundation for Presbyterian beliefs. Which came first? Michelangelo's David was completed first in 1504. Which reformer was burned at the stake in Geneva for heresy in 1553? Michael Servetus was executed in Geneva for heretical views. Who painted this iconic religious scene? The Last Supper was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Who was the Pope during the beginning of the Reformation in 1517? Leo X was the Pope when Luther published his 95 Theses. What Renaissance writer argued that rulers should be feared rather than loved? Machiavelli famously argued this in his work, The Prince. What was a major focus of Jesuit education? Jesuit schools emphasize classical education and spiritual discipline. Which artistic technique gives a sense of depth and realism in Renaissance paintings? Linear perspective allowed artists to create realistic depth on flat surfaces. Which country became the center of Protestant Reformation thought? Germany was at the heart of the Protestant Reformation, where Luther lived and preached. There are the last 5 questions ahead of you. I hope you like the quiz. Good luck. Who was the English monarch during the defeat of the Spanish Armada? Elizabeth I was queen when the Spanish Armada was defeated in 1588. Which field did Copernicus revolutionize during the Renaissance? Copernicus changed astronomy by proposing a heliocentric model of the universe. True or false, William Shakespeare lived during the Renaissance? True. Shakespeare was a key literary figure of the English Renaissance. What is the term for buying or selling church offices, a practice criticized during the Reformation? Simony was the selling of church positions, a practice heavily condemned by reformers. What language did Luther use in his translation of the Bible? Luther translated the Bible into German. Enjoyed the quiz? Subscribe for more challenges. Check out these videos next.